Hello, I'm Will, and this is Mike, we're the Tabletop Donkeys.
Hello.
And in this video we're looking at issue 5 of Warhammer Age of Sigmar Stormbringer magazine. This issue came with a Praetor-Prime miniature, which is unique to this magazine. You can't get it anywhere else. As always, we'll be looking through the magazine contents and at the new model, and then trying her out in our game. First up in the magazine, we have the process of reforging, which happens to the Stormcast Eternals when they are slain. They turn into a sort of bolt of lightning and return to Aesir, the realm of heavens, where they're made ready to fight again, which is an extremely painful process, even for the Stormcast Eternals, and it tests them, and sometimes they come out not quite the same as they were before, but Sigmar can't afford to be losing soldiers, so they are all destined to return to battle. It's also a bit about Sigmarite, the metal that their equipment is made out of, which returns with them to the realm of heavens. As it says over the page, they disappear in a blinding flash of light which can disorientate and injure their enemies, which the Stormcast will take advantage of when their brethren are killed. And they can also arrive from the realm of heavens in much the same way, being delivered on bolts of lightning without having to use realm gates or any other way of moving around, which can take their foes off guard. Now we have the start of the history of the mortal realms, the setting, beginning with the Age of Myth, a sort of legendary period when the god Sigmar awoke and started exploring, found humans and other races, and began to teach them civilization. He also found other gods and made alliances with them, and during this time the gods and the mortals worked together to create many wonders and extraordinary things. But unfortunately it was not to be, because eventually cracks began to appear in the alliances of the gods, who differed in opinions on how certain things were to be done, and also the gods of chaos began to take notice of the mortal realms. Ancient malevolent entities living in a sort of alternate dimension called the Realm of Chaos, who began to slowly corrupt mortals in the mortal realms and turn them against the pantheon of the gods. And it has a little bit of background on all of them here. We've got Khorne, the god of battle and slaughter, Tzeentch, the god of change and magic, Nurgle, the god of plague and decay, and Slaanesh, the god of excess, and the great horned rat, the god of the Skaven rat-like men. Now we have the unit background for our Stormcast Praetors. So the Praetor-Prime we got with this issue will actually be one of 4 Praetors that we'll get. And you can see all 4 of them there. So this background will do for all 4 of them eventually. Praetors are bodyguards for Stormcast commanders on the battlefield. Not just by oath, but they've actually gone a ritual of soul bonding to the commander they're looking for, and can even absorb damage and blows aimed for the commander supernaturally. You can give a character trait to the Praetor-Prime. And actually there's even a little box out here showing the little helper cartoon figure actually is the Praetor-Prime from this collection. So there's a nice little addition there, all these little helpful boxes there. That is the Praetor-Prime. And also we can give a unit trait to the Praetors once we get them, and record some of their great deeds as usual. Then we have the build guide for the Praetor-Prime. This is the first model we've got that is not pushed together, so you will have to use plastic glue to stick her together. But otherwise she's fairly simple to put together, like this, and then also placing her on her base in the centre, because she doesn't have any pegs to go into holes in the base, so you'll have to just put her in the right place. And for the painting guide, we've got a reminder of how to thin down your paints and wash your brushes, and the painting instructions, so starting with 3 thin coats of gold as a base coat for the whole model, and then applying the Cantor blue on the cloak and lead belcher for the metal bits like the scale armour and the halberd blade. And there she is finished up to this point, and we'll get paints to paint her face and hair and so forth later on. But that's not all for this issue, because it also came with a fold-out insert which details more background on both the Stormcast Eternals and the Kruleboyz. So beginning with the Stormcast, as we learnt before, they are immortal warriors who can be reforged and sent back into battle once again, and they fight to defend civilization from the various forces that oppose them. They form bonds with various creatures of the realm of heavens, like the great drakes and other creatures they can ride into battle, and the most powerful of the Stormcast Eternals are almost elemental forces, living tempests and lightning storms on the battlefield. And on the other side, more about the Kruleboyz. As we learnt before, they're a breed of Orruk, the most cunning of that species. They like to set traps and ambushes and do things that the foe are unlikely to expect them to do, particularly if they're familiar with the more straightforward other types of greenskins. They like the use of envenomed weapons, so that even the merest scratch causes great damage to their enemy. They capture and subdue various beasts that they also drive to war, and they use the magic of what's called the War, energy that is formed from the collective sort of consciousness of all Orruks, to create magical hexes and curses and so forth. Anyway, that's it for the content of the issue. So now I will hand you over to Mike and we will learn the new rules for our Praetor-Prime and see how in a game.
Well, here we have more of the basic rules. This time we're covering the 6 phases that make up each game turn. So we start in the hero phase, then move to the movement phase, then the shooting phase, then the charge phase, the combat phase, and the battle drop phase. So up until this point, we've only been learning about the combat phase, and you can pause and read the very brief idea of what happens in each phase here. And this game will also be continuing our learning about the combat phase. Well, and here we have an overview of the combat phase. So essentially in this phase, the players, starting with the player whose turn it is, take it in turns to choose a unit to fight, and then they resolve that unit's attacks, and then the other player gets to choose a unit to fight. So you can see here, in an example of a Kruleboyz combat phase, one Kruleboyz unit attacks, in this case the killer boss, then the Praetor-Prime is picked to fight, then it goes back to the Kruleboyz to fight with the Gut Rippers, and then finally the Vindictors. So you can see there is some strategy in choosing which units to fight. If the killer boss goes first, then the Vindictors are safe from further attacks, so it makes sense to do the Praetor-Prime next, so she can reduce some of the, potentially kill off some of the Gut Rippers and reduce the number of attacks on her. So even though this is very simple, there is a bit of thought to it. So in today's game, a deadly choice, our new Praetor-Prime, Cira Demonbane, has been sent to try and assassinate killer boss Morlek. Unfortunately, she and the unit of Vindictors have fallen into a cunning Kruleboyz ambush, and so a battle will ensue. So on our battle map, we have the Praetor-Prime deployed opposite the Gut Rippers, and then the killer boss deployed opposite the Vindictors, effectively mirroring the previous game, but with the Praetor-Prime instead of the Knight Arcanum. In this game, we will be using those rules for the combat phase we saw. So on the left there, you can see the war scrolls for the Kruleboyz units we have so far. They haven't changed at all. But effectively, we follow the rules for the combat phase. So since I'm the Kruleboyz player, I'll pick a unit to fight, and then the Stormcast will go, and then we'll repeat. And also another thing here, if a unit wipes out all its enemies, they can then move over to help the other units. So you can see in this example, the Gut Rippers have killed the Praetor-Prime, so they can go and help the killer boss with the Vindictors. Obviously, once the Kruleboyz turn is over, we go to the Stormcast turn, which plays out in exactly the same way, except for the fact that the Stormcast player will pick a unit to fight first, and so on. And we can see the war scores for the 2 Stormcast units we've had so far. The Vindictors are exactly the same. We can see the Praetor-Prime, she has 3 wounds, a 3+ save. She has 3 attacks with her Soul Guard's Halberd that hit on 3s and wound on 3s with -1 rend and do a flat 2 damage. And it does give you a little bit of advice on how to make the best use of each of your units as well. So that should be fairly simple, and we'll get straight into the game, and hopefully you'll be able to understand it as we play through it. Well, here we have our forces deployed. I have Murkai and the Storm Chasers on the left, and Morlek the Killer Boss with Kneebiter the Stabgrot on my right, facing off against Cira Demonbane up there on the top left, and Lyria's Guardians up on the top right. So first off, we begin by moving our forces into the centre circles. So we moved into battle, and as per the tutorial, it is my turn, so I get to pick a unit to fight first. I think I'm going to pick the Gut Rippers to go, because they're the most likely to be killed by the Praetor-Prime, and they actually might be able to finish her off if they roll as well as they did against the Knight Arcanum. All 10 Gut Rippers are still alive, so we have 20 attacks hitting on 4. Only 8 hits to start us off, but we're looking for 4s to wound, getting 4 wounds.
And the Praetor-Prime, Cira Demonbane, has a 3+ save, which she failed 2 of, so she's only got 1 wound remaining because she only starts with 3. So now I get to pick a unit to fight, and well, Cira Demonbane is safe because the Gut Rippers have attacked this turn already, so I'll pick Lyria's Guardians to attack Morlek. So 10 attacks between them, hitting on 3s. We've got 6 hits, which also wound on 3s. Only 3.
They are Ren -1, so Morlek's 3+ save goes down to a 4+. He failed all of them, so he takes 3 damage. And Morlek's down to 3 wounds, and he is the only unit I have left to pick, so I have to pick him to fight. 4 attacks from Morlek, hitting on 3s. Oh, only getting 1. Wounding on a 3. He fails to wound. Oh, I'm not off to a good start here. Can Kneebiter do something? Do something? Kneebiter gets a hit with his shiv. Wounds on a 4. Doesn't wound.
And so lastly, I've got the injured Cira Demonbane to fight against the Gut Rippers. She has 3 attacks, hitting on 3s. She hits twice and wounding on 3s. Wounds twice with a rend of -1.
Looking for 6s now. No, that's 2 damage apiece. That's 2 dead Gut Rippers. So I'll take 2 off the back. So that is the end of the Kruleboyz turn. That's onto the Stormcast turn. Well, we start the process off again, so now the Stormcast get to pick.
And I'll pick Cira Demonbane again because there's a decent chance she will die if she doesn't attack first. So 3 attacks again. They all 3 hit this time, and all 3 wound.
6s to save. Didn't save any, so 3 dead Gut Rippers. Rapidly running out. I'm going to pick Morlek to go next because the Gut Rippers can't take any more casualties this turn. 4 attacks from Morlek on 3s. That's better. They all hit. Wounding on 3s. Getting 1 wound.
Also -1 rend, so 4 plus save, which I've made.
Knee Biter gets 2 hits this time. Doesn't wound.
And I've only got Lyria's Guardians left to fight this turn, so they'll attack Morlek. 10 attacks on 3s. So 8 hits, wounding on 3s. 6.
That's a pretty good roll from Morlek if he wants to live. Oh, it's enough. He's got 1 wound left. So Morlek's barely hanging on. Can the Gut Rippers finish off Sira Demonbane? 10 attacks from the 5 remaining Gut Rippers on 4s, getting 5 hits. Wounding on 4s, getting 3 wounds.
So she has to pass all of their 3 plus saves to live. No, failed 1, so dies. So that's the first death for our new Praetor-Prime.
Yeah, and as per the rules, it's not entirely sure when exactly this happens, but the Gut Rippers now get to move over to help out Morlek. So the Gut Rippers will move over, and that is the end of the Stormcast turn. Back to the Kruleboyz turn. I'm going to pick Morlek to go first. Let's see if he can... doesn't want to embarrass himself in front of the boys. 4 attacks, getting 3 hits, and wounding on 3s. He's improving, he's up to 2 wounds.
2 4 plus saves. Failed 1, so he does kill a Vindictor.
And Knee Biter hits twice, or 4s to wound. He wounds.
No rend to a 3 plus save. No, made it. Now the Vindictors get to go, and I'm going to attack the Gut Rippers because they have not attacked yet, even though I could probably just kill Morlek. And also because it being my turn next, I will get to go again and might have a chance to kill Morlek next turn. So 8 attacks on 3s on the Gut Rippers. Oh dear, only 2 hits. Wounding on 3s. 1 wound. They do have Rend -1.
So 6 plus save, no, so Gut Ripper will take a wound. And that's not enough to kill any of them. And then the Gut Rippers are my only remaining unit, so they get to go next. Still 5 left, so 10 attacks on 4s, getting 4 hits, wounding on 4s, getting 3 wounds.
3 plus saves. Oh, failed 2, so they kill a Vindictor.
Only 3 of the Guardians left, but it's the Stormcast turn, so they get to choose their targets.
And they will try and go for Morlek, because he is probably the most dangerous foe. Only 3 left, so 6 attacks hitting on 3s. 3 hits, wounding on 3s. 2.
He needs to make both to live. Oh, he does. He's hanging on in there. Both of my units get to go, so I'll choose Morlek first. He gets 2 hits. Wound on 3s, getting 1.
1 4 plus save, made it.
Knee Biter, 3 attacks that miss. Storm Chasers. The Gut Rippers with 10 attacks on 4s, 7 hits this time. And these are wounding on 4s, getting 4 wounds.
3 plus saves. Failed 1, so Vindictor is wounded.
Well, and that's the end of that Stormcast turn. Back around to the Kruleboyz turn. I'm going to pick Morlek to go first. 4 attacks on 3s. They all hit. And 3s. They all wound.
4 plus saves. Oh dear, failed 3. There's only 5 wounds left in a unit, so that's 6 damage. Will kill them all.
And there you go. Morlek didn't want to have the boys show him up. And we have another of the little conclusion boxes to look at. So for the Kruleboyz victory, they cackle with glee as the last of the Stormcast are slain. And apparently my cunning choice of units has won me the day. But I think what we'll do is we'll set the board up again and let the Stormcast go first this time. Well, we've set up our forces again. This time it's the Stormcast turn, so they get to pick first.
I think I'll do Sira Demonbane, because otherwise she could just die in 1 round of combat. Cut down a couple of Gut Rippers, reduce the number of attacks coming in. So 3 attacks on 3s. Oh, she only managed to hit once though. She did wound.
6 plus save. No. So she does kill a Gut Ripper. But I'm going to pick Morlek to go, because the Gut Rippers can't take any more casualties. So 4 attacks on 3s. Off to a good start with 4 hits and 2 wounds.
2 4 plus saves. Oh dear, failed both, so he's killed 2 already.
And then Knee Biter misses entirely.
Well, the remaining members of Lyria's Guardians get to go on 3s and 3s. 2.
2 wounds on Morlek for looking for 4s. He makes both his saves this time. Now it's just the Gut Rippers to go. Yeah, 18 attacks from the 9 remaining Gut Rippers. They've only managed 5 hits this time. Must have all been falling over each other to get in the fight. Looking for 4s to wound. No wounds at all. I mean, it adds up to 4, but that doesn't count. But that is the end of the Stormcast turn. So it's now around to the Kruleboyz turn, where I'm going to pick the Stormchasers to go again. See if they can not embarrass themselves this time. 18 attacks once again. Well, they're much improved this turn. They got 13 hits, looking for 4 wounds. Well, they get 6 wounds in total.
6 3+ saves. 2 fails, down to 1 wound again. So I'll do Lyria's Guardians, because they're still at risk this turn. On 3s with 6 attacks, 5 hits. Wounding on 3s. All 4 wounds.
4+ saves. He made them all. He's put on his good armour today. 4 attacks back from Morlek. They all hit. 3s to wound, 3 wounds.
4s to save. Oh, 2 more dead. Just Lyria herself left.
Can Kneebiter finish her off? 3 hits. I think that's the first time he's ever rolled that well. 4s to wound. Come on, Kneebiter. 2 wounds.
2 3+ saves. Oh, maybe.
Oh.
And so just got Cyril Demonbane left. It's on 3s. Gets 2 hits. Wounds on 3s. 2 wounds.
6s to save. Oh, he made one. So 1 Gut Ripper dies. Yeah, so that's the end of the Kruleboyz turn. Back around to the Stormcast turn.
Well, Lyria cannot possibly kill Morlek. He hasn't taken any damage at all. So I think I'll do Cyril Demonbane. 3 attacks. Hits twice. And wounds on 3s. Oh, nothing.
Do Morlek, because the Gut Rippers are now safe. 3 attacks, getting 4 attacks, getting 3 hits. And 3s, or only 1 wound.
4+. Nah, she dies.
Oh. So I would guess the way this works is that Kneebiter's attacks are wasted, and then Morlek and Kneebiter will move across to help out the boys. But the Gut Rippers have a chance to bring down the Praetor-Prime before the boss can. Only 8 of the Stormchasers left, so 16 attacks looking for 4s. Only 6 hits, looking for 4s to wound. Well, they get 4 wounds though.
And 4 3+ saves. Oh, I failed 1.
That's enough to take us down. So that is another Kruleboyz victory. And I think we'll leave it at that and recap these games for you now. That was the game for issue 5 of Warhammer Age of Sigmar Stormbringer magazine. Well, what did you think of those?
Pretty much as expected. I think the first game was lucky to be as close as it was because you rolled quite badly for Morlek and I rolled quite well with the Praetor-Prime to actually kill 5 Gut Reapers. The second game was more like how I expected it to go, but you still won both, so not an unexpected outcome.
Yeah, I mean, it is basically the previous game, just with us choosing the order of which things. It's not too surprising that Praetor-Prime, I think she did quite well initially, but yeah, she's very similar to the Knight Arcanum, slightly better at wounding, and flat 2 damage is more reliable than the D3 damage of the Knight Arcanum staff, but the Knight Arcanum can end up killing more with fewer wounds, and she has half the wounds of the Knight Arcanum.
Yes.
So it's not surprising that the many Gut Rippers would take her down.
Yeah, that's pretty much how I expected.
And yeah, we've already seen that Morlek can defeat the Vindictors. I mean, it does help that you can choose the order in which you do things, but again, it's not too surprising, this outcome.
Yes, and I had the slight benefit of having in my turn being able to pick first, so I sort of got to do 2 units in a row over the course of the 2 turns. But then you get to do the same when at the end of my turn. So
yeah,
obviously there is a strategy toward picking which unit, and when it's a matchup like this, it's obviously going to be pick the unit that isn't going to take any damage anymore because the unit they're facing is already wounded. But you can get more complicated combats than this, where picking the right unit first can make a real difference.
Talking about the new model, the Praetor-Prime, she is the unique model for this collection, although I think if you were a subscriber you do get Zandria Azurbolt, the Knight Incantor, who was the unique model from the previous collection. Obviously, we only talk about this one here. I'm in 2 minds of this, because it is a pretty cool model, but kind of disappointed that she's not a hero, I suppose, for the Stormcast, although I suppose we already have the Knight Arcanum anyway. Don't want to give the Stormcast too many heroes in a row. Although she'd be a pretty good candidate if you like using the Anvil of Apotheosis, I think it's called, from the Thondia book that lets you create your own heroes. She'd be pretty cool for that. Otherwise, she's just a nice, it's just a nice bonus for the magazine. Bit of a shame that she's not a new hero though.
Yeah, all 3 previous magazines have had a hero character model, full-fledged, like the Knight Arcanum level. Whereas this model is just a unit leader, and I think as the collection goes on, it will become apparent that she is basically just an alternate unit leader for a unit we will get. The full unit
and
Praetor.
that will have implications, like the fact we'll have 4 of them.
Yes.
Which is a bit of an odd unit size, but although I do like that she is meant to be the sort of the mascot Stormcast character that appears in the magazines. That's quite a neat way of doing it.
And certainly it is a nice collector's model, I suppose. So one of those things where if you are into the collecting side of the hobby, then getting her from this is definitely worthwhile, because she is unique to the magazine. I do expect that people will be selling them off second-hand online, probably for an inflated price, because again, she is exclusive to the magazine.
Yeah, and if I remember correctly, her head was separately, so I think if you have a spare head from the Vindictors, maybe you could fit that one out. I think the helmet designs are slightly different, but if for some reason you had multiple copies, you could have another unique one. You could maybe get 2 extra copies and have a unit of 3 Praetors. They're all of the same pose, but whatever. Maybe you could cut the halberd head off and put a spear head on to make her a unique Praetor-Prime or something. There isn't too much to say, really. The rules are fairly self-explanatory for this issue, and our new model, obviously I've finished pre-painting her, but the painting is going to be fairly similar to the Vindictors. I've gone for that colour scheme. So, as always, if you like this content, do leave a like and subscribe, and leave any comments if you've been getting Stormbringer. Tell us how you've been getting on. We've been the Tabletop Donkeys, and we'll see you in the next one.
Bye for now.